Let's talk about my two good, great, bad, and ugly things that we saw from the New York Jets versus the Chicago Bears.
Inside, and a beauty! Hall running free! Brees Hall inside the 10! He's gonna score!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be going over my two good, bad, ugly, and great things that I saw from my second watching of the Chicago Bears game versus the New York Jets. Before we hop into the video, a couple of quick announcements. Guys, if you want to become a citizen of Tigo Slavia, which is my Patreon, and get access to a bunch of cool benefits, go into the description and sign up. It costs less than a cup of coffee a month, and it really supports the channel and helps us do cool and creative things with the channel, including our 2,000 subscriber giveaway. We're going to be giving away one lucky viewer a jersey of their choice from whatever team they choose. Obviously, that is in the NFL right now. I'm really excited to be doing this giveaway, but we're going to be doing this giveaway at 2,000 subscribers. So get people in here, get people to hit the subscribe button, get people involved. And last but not least, we have merch now, guys. It is in the description. We're developing new and exciting things with merch, working with a couple of people to try to figure out different merch designs, get them for me so that I can show it off to you guys in the videos. But it's another way to help you guys support the Talking Jets with Tigo channel, but also rep some Talking Jets with Tigo gear. But enough of announcements. Let's hop into the video. Let's talk about the good, bad, ugly, and great things that we saw. Let's start with the good. And I think the first thing that I have to talk about, and in the good, it's just two players, is Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson has very clearly become the focal point of our offensive game plan when it comes to the wide receiver production. And you can see why. He is so dynamic when he has the ball. He is absolutely lethal. And guys, I think it's fair to say the New York Jets found wide receiver one in this past draft. Garrett Wilson, in my opinion, has the potential to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And the thing that's blowing my mind is that week after week, we're seeing him still get better. He hasn't even reached his ceiling yet, but with this coaching staff and with this team, and now with him getting the ball more frequently and more often, watch out, because he's on pace now to break 1,000 yards in his rookie season, which would be the first time in 7 or 8 years that the New York Jets have a 1,000 receiving yard wide receiver. The last year we did that was, I think, in 2015 when Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker both got 1,000 yards. And I think the last rookie to do it was Keyshawn. I think he was the last rookie to get 1,000 yards for the New York Jets. Absolutely phenomenal scenes from what we saw from Garrett Wilson. And then the other good, and I'm going to eat this receipt, is Zonovan Bam Knight. I had been a very big critic of Zonovan Knight. I didn't see how he fit in our scheme. He seemed to be a downhill runner, someone that you ran between the tackles, and I was worried about his one-cut ability, which is what our offensive running scheme is based off of, right? You run wide zone and you cut back in to get that cutback lane once you clear the space off, and I didn't feel like he had that ability. I thought he was going to be a short yardage back, and that he probably should have redshirted this whole year, and I was wrong. He's slimmed down for the position, gotten faster and quicker, and showed us the ability to one cut and get upfield relatively effectively, and we gave him his opportunity to run the ball. He got 14 carries, especially when you take into consideration the Michael Carter injury, and he got 69 yards. Absolutely great what we saw from him, and it really makes me feel comfortable about our running back room moving forward, because we do have some injury concerns with our top three guys right now, with obviously Brees Hall being out for the year, Michael Carter with his new injury, and then Brian Robinson, he's still dealing with that knee, so he's week to week. We don't know what we're going to get from him, even though we rested him essentially this game. Now, let's move on to the bad. I think the first bad thing that I'm going to talk about, since we're talking about runs and we just talked about a wide receiver, is our wide receiver runs. We tried rushing with 4 wide receivers, and we got a total of 3 yards. That's not good when you're trying to do your wide receiver runs. We rushed with Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and Braxton Berrios twice. Elijah Moore got -4 yards. Garrett Wilson got -1 yards. And Braxton Berrios on 2 carries got 9 yards. It's just not good enough from our wide receivers when you take into consideration the run game and what we want to do with our wide receivers. So I want to see a little bit better scheming from the offensive coordinator and in the blocking game to get the wide receiver run game, because that was such a dynamic part of our team last year, and we got better at the wide receiver position. So all 3 of the guys that we handed the ball to should be major run threats when they get the ball handed off to it, and it just didn't work yesterday, and I would like to see that improved moving forward. And then the other thing that I kind of have to put a bad thing on, and this is just because of one play, because I ultimately had them in the good, but then I remembered I had to put Bam Knight there, is special teams. The Braden Mann not holding onto the ball and then passing, it's free points that we gave up, that's a mistake that we can get away with against the Chicago Bears, but that's not something that we can get away with against good teams and in the playoffs, which is kind of what the expectation is now for the New York Jets, is the playoffs. So even though that was the only mistake that we had on special teams, any mistake on special teams is a bad day, in my opinion. So tighten it up, special teams. I know that it was raining, but that's not an excuse, right? We still threw the ball 22 times for 315 yards. You should be able to catch it on a snap. There's that. Now let's talk about the ugly, and I think the first ugly thing has to be the defensive start. How we started on defense was absolutely abysmal. We were playing soft coverage, and I don't just mean soft in the sense like we were giving the people space and coming downhill. That's what the New York Jets do. But I mean, like, we were playing soft. We weren't hitting people. We weren't wrapping up. The tackling problem showed up again, and it looked like David Montgomery was going to have himself an absolute feast, plus 100 yards, because they just started running the ball on us, and it looked like Trevor Siemian was going to be super efficient, and it was just like, oh no, not this again. The coin is alive, and I thought we were cursed. But we come back from the second half, and the New York Jets looked a lot better on defense. I didn't think that we were going to have to rely on the offense as hard as we did. Or I thought we were going to have to rely on the offense a lot harder than we actually did, because I thought the defense was just going to continue to look the way that it looked. But I am so glad to know that I was wrong. The team... the defense specifically came back from the half and tightened up, but that defensive start can't happen, especially against good teams. Minnesota is going to eat you alive. Cook, Jefferson, Thielen, Hawkinson, they've got weapons. We can't have defensive slow starts. They go into the ugly category. And because I legitimately couldn't find another ugly thing from the game, I'm going to talk about the other games that happened. And the ugly thing right now is the AFC standing. There looks like there are 9 teams competing for 7 spots in the playoffs in the AFC when you take into consideration what's happening. Obviously, we know Kansas City is going to lead their division, and the Tennessee Titans are probably going to lead their division. When it comes to the game. But in the AFC East, it's a 3-headed race between the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Jets to not just who's going to lead the division and who's going to lead coming out of the division, but who's going to get the wild card spots. Then we got to look at the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals, who are both 7-4, and they're both competing not only for their division, but also a wild card spot. The New England Patriots, who I don't necessarily believe are going to be competing for a playoff spot, are 6-5, so they're right on our heels. The Los Angeles Chargers are at 6-5, and they are competing for a wild card spot. There are a lot of really good teams in the AFC right now, and it's a race, man, and I don't like what I'm seeing, because this is a year that the Jets should make the playoffs, and I don't like seeing all of this competition for the playoffs. I think we can go 4-2 on the back half of these next 6 games, and that should not only solidify us the division, but it should 100% guarantee that we make it into the playoffs. But it's a dog race now. We're playing meaningful games in September, like legitimately meaningful games in September right now. And I'm sorry, in December right now. And this stuff matters. And so every game is a must-win game moving forward because of the AFC standings, which are absolutely ugly right now. And then let's end the video on two great things. I think the first great thing has to be Mike White. Mike White was a stabilizing force for that offense. It was a stabilizing force for that defense. That our offense came out and it objectively looked like they were having fun. And when this team is having fun out there, man, they are unstoppable. Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, like they were having fun and playing like they were kids in the backyard. And Mike White was able to facilitate that. And it makes me have a massive question mark about what we're going to do at quarterback, because you do obviously have to take into consideration the pedigree of the draft capital that you spent on a guy like Zach Wilson, but also you can't ignore the fact that Mike White has been incredibly efficient in this offense. We got to take into consideration the Cincinnati Bengals game. We have to take into consideration the game and a half that he had bad last year was on a bad New York Jets team, and he is efficient, accurate, and smart with the football. Mike White is something that right now we can't say about Zach. I don't know what we do moving forward, but I'm going to focus on that on a different video. Right now, Mike White was absolutely phenomenal. 22 of 28, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Absolutely fantastic. And then you know I have to mention it. My boy is back. Max Mitchell was back at the right tackle position where he belongs. He is our starting right tackle moving forward on 24 or 20, I think it's 28 pass blocking, no, 24 because he didn't start the game. I think it was 24 pass blocking snaps that he took all game. He allowed 0 pressures and was incredible in the run game, and running to the right side just looked good. And on a side note, having Nate Herbig back and having that right side look the way that it did was absolutely phenomenal. And the play that we're getting from Max Mitchell is one of those things that makes me, one, feel really good in my heart because I called it and I really liked Max Mitchell. But 2, it makes me feel comfortable moving into next year at the tackle position, knowing that we're not going to have to go spend a crap ton of money or use a first-round pick or be pigeonholed into anything when it comes to the tackle position, because ultimately, worst-case scenario, we have Dwayne Brown on the team next year, and I know I don't feel super confident of playing Dwayne Brown at 40 years old or whatever he's going to be at left tackle, but Elijah Vera-Tucker can play left tackle. Mekhi Becton's coming back, and he's going to be competing for a spot. Max Mitchell is solid at the right tackle spot. Nate Herbig deserves to be starting on this team, and keep your eyes out because there's a Nate Herbig video coming soon. We have a lot of talent on this football team, specifically on the offensive line. And while we dealt with a lot of injuries, we're back, we're healthy, and this offensive line is going to eat moving forward. And I'm so happy to be and see that my boy Max Mitchell is at the heart of that. Guys, let me know what you think about my good, bad, ugly, and great things from this game. Let me know what you thought was good, bad, great, and ugly in this game in the comment section below. Leave a like on your way out. And last but not least, go Jets.